what I always tell people is I say, listen, the trick is to fail fast, because you learn when you fail. That's when you learn the most. So my name is Greg Shepard, and I am a Forbes author. Forbes, I have a book coming out next year from Forbes, and I also write for Entrepreneur, Fortune, Forbes, Bloomberg, Washington, a whole bunch of different places, as well as a TEDx speaker. I speak at a lot of events. I've won 4 private equity awards for transactions between 250 and 900 million, actually a billion. I built and sold 12 companies. Recently, outside of working on BOSS, the business operating support system that works with the Forbes book, I've also been started up a new fund to invest in Series Seed startups. And that's what I do right now. I started as a child. I grew up, underprivileged. So we lived in tents while we built our house. We didn't have very much money. We had a lot of foster children. I have an adopted sister. We worked very, very hard to just try to survive. And so I started little businesses when I was young. I sold Rubik's Cubes and pets and all kinds of different things as I was growing up. And then I started my first business and sold that business. And since then, 12 other businesses. After I've built these 12 businesses, and through that process, I was trying to figure out how to do it more efficiently, how to put together processes based on patterns that I had seen of points of failure. So what I did is I figured out I needed to understand why businesses were failing. So what I actually found out was that was the wrong question. The right question was, when are they failing? And then why are they failing? When I discovered that, I started using what I had learned with BOSS, the business operating support system, through time to figure out at what points businesses failed. Now, if you were to have some sort of a GPS and you were going to go from one place to another place, you would have to understand where you are, and you would have to understand where you're going. And so what we built at BOSS is a level structure, so a maturity model. There's a level 1 business all the way up to a level 5 business. And in that process, it allows you to stick a stake in the ground of where you are. And then we built the North Star. The North Star tells you, it's basically your exit strategy. It tells you what your business is, why should somebody buy your business or your product, who is going to buy your business or your product, when, for how much, and all of these things are baked out into an understanding of what your North Star is. Now you have where you are, where your destination is, and you create a mission that allows you to drive to that destination. And so I've spent a lot of time working on that to try to make sure that I could smooth the process of entrepreneurs getting to success. As an entrepreneur, I look back at what inspired me, and some of it has to do with the fact that, my parents didn't have any money, my family didn't have any money, and I was a special ed kid. So I have audio processing disorder, autism, and dyslexia. It made it very, very hard for me just to have a business or to have a job. So I figured out I was going to have to create my own job by building businesses. And so I worked really hard to make that happen, and started out when I was really young, building businesses that I thought I could do, and I did. And then it just built up over and over until they got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then finally the eBay transaction for 925 million happened, followed by another transaction for eBay. And then I moved into being an investor. After being an investor for a while, I started really taking seriously writing this book, the book on the business operating support system, to try to give it away to people and have them understand it in a way that helped them succeed in their business. The business that we have is Boss Capital Partners, and Boss Capital Partners is a syndicate that makes investments into Series C technology companies that have a prescription model. That subscription model allows us to forecast things. Now, the desire I have on the other side is the business operating support system, and that was built to help everybody who's building a business. And so on the website, GregoryShepard.com, there is a tremendous amount of content in there that explains how to use the business operating support system Boss. And inside of there are videos, it depends on how you want to consume data. If you want to listen, watch, or read, there's something for everybody. You don't see old money, wealthy people that already have a ton of money doing startups because they don't need to. You see people that are trying to make something happen in the world, starting up businesses. And those people are special people. And when they get rewarded by an exit in their business, their contribution to society is different than the contribution that you see with people that are sitting on treasure troves of money. And that's what drives me. I think the first one was, I didn't have a formal education. And so it's very, very hard to prove to somebody that you're trying to get something going with, that you are worth, the investment as, either getting employees on board or investors on board when you don't have an education. Barely graduating from high school was that didn't bode well, right? Then in addition to that, I didn't have money from my family, right? So I didn't have any money to get started either. So I had to work 4 jobs. So I would work in the middle of the night as a graveyard, and then I would wake up and package newspapers early in the morning, and then I would work on my business in the daytime, and then in the evening I would go wait tables and then back through the same loop. And I did this for like 3 years, working basically 24 hours a day. And people always ask, when did you sleep? And I slept on the security guard job. I know, worst security guard ever. Thank God nothing happened. And I proved to people that I was capable of doing things that other people weren't capable of doing. And I attribute it to what I call a handful. I think that people need a handful of things. So 5 things, 1 finger stands for each thing: focus, drive, enthusiasm, discipline, and optimism. Discipline is something that you have to use. If you're depressed, you use discipline. If you don't want to do something, use discipline. If you're feeling sick, you use discipline. I mean, discipline is the kick in the ass that you use when you need a kick in the ass from something from the outside. And enthusiasm, the last one, I believe is core. I really do. I believe it's important to get excited about something. And those are the things that I use to get through some of these really, really rough times that I had getting from, not having, even food and at certain points, no housing to, getting all the way to the point where, now, I've won 4 private equity awards for transactions between 250 and $1 billion. And, I'm an investor and I live well, but it took me a lifetime. Everybody's got their story. Everybody's got their difficulties. The point is that if I can overcome them, you can overcome them too, and move on to something great. I did have a few jobs early on, fast food, restaurants, construction, and I worked for about 6 months. I tried to get a job at this bank, and I didn't have any suits, so I went and got a suit from a secondhand store, and I went and interviewed with this guy, and he told me I was a dirty, like basically that I was a slob and I needed to go away. But I kept coming back, and for 6 months I came back, and every time I did what he told me to do. He said, "Go get a better suit." I went and got a better suit. I ironed it. I washed the shirt. I had 2 suits, one dark one and one light one, and I had 1 white shirt and 1 tie and 1 pair of shoes, and I would wash them in the sink and iron them. And then I remember he said, at one point he said, okay, well, now you look more presentable. Now you need to sit up straight in your chair and you need to tell me why you think you should have this job. And this went on for like 6 months. In the meantime, I was working all these other jobs, just horrible. And he finally hired me. That was the job I had. And he taught me banking. Those were just things that I used to make money. I didn't consider them careers. I saw them as a means to an end. So I did those things as I worked my way up to starting my own businesses. And even the businesses started out really small. And then they got bigger and bigger and bigger. I just sold a business and would reinvest the money. And then I kept doing that. I think that there is a misunderstanding and a gap in alignment between the startup world and investors. I think that most of the investors make investments into startups, but they don't actually understand from an operator's perspective or a practitioner's perspective what goes into a business. So from an entrepreneur's perspective, I think that is something that deeply concerns me. I think that a lot of investors misdirect entrepreneurs because they never have been an entrepreneur and they don't know what it takes to be an operator. And so they look at driving numbers like growth numbers when maybe growth isn't the right decision right now. Most entrepreneurs need to realize that your business is just a product to the buyer of your business. And because of that, does it make sense to build a product without having a customer? Absolutely not. So does it make sense to build a business without having a buyer and understand both of those things clearly? That is a huge frustration for me. The first one is to do the North Star. The North Star starts with what? What is your product? What is your business? That's description, feature, and benefit. The second thing is why. Why should a customer buy your product? And why should a business buy your company? And that's problem, solution, and impact. And then when, that's the time horizon. So you can figure out how many rounds you think you're going to need to do based on when your business is going to get to a good level of ready for acquisition. And then how much, right? And this just helps you how much you're going to exit for. If you don't know that, you could overfund your business. If you overfund your business, you get caught in this circle where you have to raise more capital and then you have to sell for more and then you have to raise more capital. And the other hack I would say is that there are some really good tools out there that help you understand how to handle situations. So if you take situations like COVID and you say, okay, COVID creates the shadow of doubt, what they call the fog of war in the military. And the military has a wargaming, and on the website, GregoryShepard.com, there we give away information and templates and things on how to do wargaming. But wargaming brings you out of the fog of war. And then the next step of that is to do impact over effort. So to understand what has the highest impact with the lowest effort, the low-hanging fruit. And those tool sets can really, they're great hacks that help you get through it. I think that one of the mistakes that I made is not having a North Star. It extended out the business quite a bit because I didn't have a North Star. I didn't have an ideal customer profile. Because I didn't have an ideal customer profile, when I found out who was buying my company and why they were buying my company, I had realized that I had to go back to the drawing board and get rid of about 50% of my customers and then replace them with the profile of customer that they were interested in. This set me back quite a few years. And in doing so, put me vulnerable for risks like COVID, like the 2008 recession, like the tech burst, like 9/11, like other wars. The other thing is, if you have somebody on your team who you think is good, but they're not great, and you're thinking the devil that you know is better than the devil that you don't, you're probably wrong. And it is worth it to actually avidly and pretty quickly replace people that aren't living up to the standards of the best person you have. If you have a good idea and you think that this idea would work, then you should start out with a SWOT. You should start out and say, what are the strengths, weaknesses, and the opportunities and threats associated with this idea? Your strengths may be things that are personal, and your weaknesses and threats would be stuff that is more on the outside. I would say run it through a SWOT first. Then I would do a war game. The war game sort of plays out what you think would happen in the future so that you are aware of things. It just makes you a little more prepared for going into this new business. Once you've done that out and you have that information available to you, then you need to go through and develop the North Star. But then you can start going to other entrepreneurs and get yourself a mentor. Get yourself somebody that understands and has started up a business before. That's very critical. Always tell people, as I say, listen, the trick is to fail fast, because you learn when you fail. That's when you learn the most, and you get the ability to iterate, to try again a different way, learning from what you learned from. I tell people, you go out and you get a beta client, even if you have to sell them for free. You need to get past a proof of concept into buyer validation as fast as possible. You may have a vision, and that vision is solid, but the details inside of that vision are going to be made out of the customer because they're buying your product. I would say get to market, try it out as fast as possible. I think that creating brand guidelines are really critical down the line in terms of like the design of your logo and the color schemes that you go with and the font that you choose, standard brand guidelines. But I think it's more important to understand, to have a statement about what your company does and what your product is and who it's built for. I appreciate everybody watching Founder X. I'm really pleased that I was able to be here for you, and I hope that the content I gave you is helpful in your journey as an entrepreneur. So my core website is GregoryShepard.com, GregoryShepard.com. I'm on LinkedIn as Greg Shepard, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you go to the website, GregoryShepard.com, inside of there, you can get to my social media handles and also communicate with me. And there's a ton of content in there that I hope helps everybody. Thank you very much.